Hi, I'm Lindsay Lee Waters, current tour professional. Today we're going to teach you the backhand under spin lob. Before we get started on the technique, let's talk about when we want to use this shot. There are two primary times we want to use this shot, and the first being when you're in a defensive position, when you're pulled and stretched wide and you have to let go of your left hand, so you're stretching with one hand. That's a great time to use the slice backhand lob. The second time we would want to use this shot is when your opponent has moved forward and they're either moving forward at the net or laterally at the net. So we've covered the two primary times when we want to use this shot. The first being when we're in a defensive position stretched out wide. The other time is when our opponent we have moving either forward or laterally in those directions. So why do we want to get our opponent moving before we hit the backhand slice lob? Because we want to wrong foot our opponent to get them going in the opposite direction than we're hitting. By doing this, it will take them longer to run down the ball. We need this extra time because underspin lobs are defensive shots. On underspin lobs, when the ball bounces, the ball comes straight up, so it gives your opponent more time to run down the ball. Where on offensive lobs or topspin lobs, when the ball hits, it's going to shoot. The topspin lobs go away from your opponent, which makes it harder for them to run down. So let me make it real simple for you. I want you to feel kinesthetically that this shot actually is in between a slice backhand and a backhand volley. So we'll start with the slice, and then it's in between a backhand volley. Let me give you three quick reference points to focus on this technique. The first reference point we're going to talk about is the Continental grip. So in order to get this, you want to make sure you have a V in your hand, and you're going to just start at the top of your racket and just slide it straight down to your grip. And this is the Continental grip. This is what we want to use for this shot. So the second reference point is you want to make sure that your racket is always a half a head length above the ball. So wherever the ball is, my hand is the ball, you want to make sure that it's a half a racket head length above the ball. And the reason we want to do this is because we need underspin for this shot. The third reference point, the contact and ending, I'm going to show you, pretend like I'm hitting the ball towards the side fence. We have our Continental grip. We're making sure our hand is above the ball, our racket head is above the ball, and we're basically going to do a C action. So we're going to go down, through, and slightly up. And we're going to make sure on our ending, this is in between a slice backhand and a volley. And lastly, you want to make sure at contact that your racket face is open just enough to get the ball over your opponent's head. One quick note about the placement of this shot, which is very important, is you want to place this shot over your opponent's backhand side. This is very important just in case you mess up on your target or the height of the ball. It's much harder for someone to hit a backhand high ball than opposed to a forehand, which is an overhead, which is a very simple shot. So in closing, let's quickly review the technique. I'm going to make sure, remember that we have a Continental grip, that you want to make sure your racket head is a half a head length above the ball, and then on the contact and ending that you remember you go down, through, and back up, and kinesthetically you want to make sure you feel that it's in between a full slice and a backhand volley. Most importantly, we want to use this shot at the right time. We want to use this shot when we get our opponents moving in the opposite direction before we hit this shot. We'll see you next time.